Wait for my friends XD to come on in. Twisted Yeti, I invited you to speak.
Turns out my permissions were not allowed for the mic. And
you. Oh, there you
I
are. What's up,
just
dude?
got this. Yeah, I just got the church, so we're about to start Sunday school. So I will be a part of this. So I'm on. I don't know what time zone you're in. I'm on West Coast, buddy.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, I'm East Coast. The forever
I
dilemma.
Yeah, I figured as much. Oh shoot, sorry, man.
No, you're good. You're good. We might still be on by the time you get back. Last time we went for like 2 hours, so.
Gotcha. Probably not. Yeah, we do Sunday school and then we take care of my wife's aunt for a couple hours after church. So more than likely not, but I will catch you some
Okay.
other time, I'm sure.
Alrighty, dude. No sweat.
Cool. Sounds good, buddy. Bye.
Alrighty. See ya. We have our M4 Lenov. I'm gonna go by your at there because the American mind
Yeah,
can never
sure.
comprehend pronouncing. Is that Cyrillic, right? Do I have that right?
Yep.
Very nice. What's up, dude? It's so funny. The joke of the racist community is the most diverse, warm, and welcoming. Last time we had we had every race in here, and not that I'm being gay and celebrating that, but it's always kind of funny. Like Twitter brings us all together, and winds up being I'm American, you're on the Slavic side of the world, and West Coast, East Coast, and all that. So that's always kind of funny.
Yeah, I'd like to believe we are white too. After all, I got my A30 eyes or something.
8:30 what?
A30 eye color.
Like that's the time for you?
No, A30. Like there's A10. Yeah.
Oh, A10 and A30, like the plane?
No, it's the eye color chart. Okay, I'll send it to you later.
Oh, okay. Oh, eye color, like the jeans.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah. All colors, green and blue, are recessive. Me and my wife are curious as to how our children will come out because my eyes are like blue and hers are very green. So W on the future family portrait.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, well, it's just me and you for now. So, one of the questions I ask is, what brings you to Twitter? What brings you to being active on Twitter? For a lot of people, it's, some version of politics, but some people segment it into specific subtopics of politics. So, what's got you on Twitter? What's got you scaring all the hoes on Twitter?
Well, actually, everything happens only here. There was a hit tweet from someone, I don't remember from who, but he said that like the actual happenings are now online, and that
Yeah.
online is mostly Twitter actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the Twitter democratized people's, expression of their opinions, and it really isn't. It became a source of media that is kind of like from the horse's mouth, so to speak. That was one of the ways that Trump was so effective in the 2016 campaign, is that he didn't rely on the media's portrayal of him, which was obviously shitty. He didn't rely on the media's portrayal of him, to warrant votes and garner support and all that. Everyone saw directly what he was like through Twitter. So there's something to be said for that. You could even think of, just 100 years ago, information and thoughts and opinions, traveled nowhere near as quickly as they do now. We're across the world, right? And we're instantaneously communicating, but just 100 years ago, you couldn't do that. It would take like a week at a time sometimes. So
Yeah, and
cer-
also the best memes are here too, so I can like either participate or at least be the first to see them.
yeah, yeah, dude, that's so funny. Let me do this thing right here. Yeah, some dude, people on here are so fast with it. Like, I can make. Well, let me add somebody as a speaker here. I got one of our friends. Yeah, sometimes I see them and they're so quick with it and so good at it too. Even maybe I'm just like low skilled with it overall, but the best I can really ever do is just go on like one of those websites that has all the templates and then you could insert the text in, however you want. That's usually the best I am at it. But some of them, like when they make the schizo edits with all the flashing and the cuts and all of that and all the music edits and all of that, it's certainly a very skilled set of people. I can barely manage to do my own videos. I wind up just speaking to the microphone, which, there is a place for that, there is a audience for that. So that's just kind of what I operate on. I'm just taking my L on the meme uh, skill set there. But to your point, yeah, they're so fast. So you got to be on here to be the first to see it.
Lots of online schizophrenics here too.
Yeah. It's so funny. I talk in like the internet vernacular too with a lot of my friends, like in real life. A lot of people will say that that's brain rot, but I always think it's so funny because a lot of the internet language is very accurate. Even just like something like NPC, like that's just a singular phrase that's perfectly describes like the entire population. So there's certainly a value to it. What's up, man? Unfolded. You made it early this time. Last time you were on the tail end, so it's good to see you here.
I appreciate that. It's good to see you guys as well. Yeah, I caught on early. I happened to be on X when you uh, started the space. So, and to uh, I'm not sure what your name is because it's Robert.
It's translated as Alex Jones Frog.
Okay, Alex Jones Frog.
Alex Jones.
Oh, Alex Jones. Well, Kapila to you, sir, if you speak Russian or Ukrainian.
Yeah, I'm from Russia.
Ah, Russia. Nice. I've been to Ukraine, um, so I know a little bit of the language.
were you in Ukraine for like a military exercise? I know the United States has a presence in Poland. I have a few friends in Poland right now. So
So no, I didn't go for military. When I was in, they were recruiting people to go into Ukraine when I was in Germany.
uh-huh.
But I was in Ukraine as a civilian. So
Okay.
I went to Ukraine about four, probably 4 days after their revolution or the um, uh, what is it?
Maidan.
Yeah, with people, all the bombing and shootings in Kiev and stuff like that. I went like 4 days after that. Like there was kids walking around in military uniforms, barricades everywhere, buildings blown out, canisters everywhere. Because they were still ready to go. Um, so yeah, that's the time frame. It was around 2014 is when I went to Ukraine.
Oh, okay. That's quite a
Hmm.
time to be there.
Yeah, right. So that was something. Um, Taking care of some business there. I mean, some new friends and whatnot. But yeah, that was definitely an experience. I remember at the time, I wanted to try one of their cigars, when I was visiting Ukraine, and I think it was like the money is called Slovenia or something like that. I can't remember. Uh, but I went to go buy some a cigar, and I thought I was gonna get the whole pack for like 15 Slovenia or whatever it's called, and it was just literally one cigar. I was I just couldn't believe the type of stuff that they go through. Hold on one second. My
Yeah, you're
dog is
good.
acting up.
The dogs. And Alex Jones Frog, what I guess it would be great for us to hear from, a Russian person's perspective. What's like the general sentiment there about the Ukraine conflict? Because, we're going to hear it through, the retarded media outlets that we hear it through. But, so it'd be good to hear what your perspective is, or what you could say for the general sentiment of the average Russian person is about that conflict.
Mostly we ignore it because there's only like what two regions uh, that were invaded by the Ukrainian army, and only three that are adjacent to the country. So
Gotcha.
not much, not many people affected by it. Also, like uh, mostly the ones who are recruited on how we call it voluntary, because
Right.
there's a huge pay for it, and so mostly some it's lumpen population that
Right.
gets here, and it allows general population to ignore it. There's
Got
uh, hmm, what else can I say about it?
This is very interesting.
Uh, if asked, most will say that they agree with Putin and stuff, but you can't really rely to that as their genuine opinion, because it's socially acceptable opinion mostly. At least it's perceived as such, uh, but I'm not sure if it actually is. I'm personally opposed to it,
Uh-huh.
but uh, I don't see how the people can uh, affect the government on that.
Right. So you're saying that it doesn't really affect anybody too strongly on a national level. It's, small region. It really kind of has this history of being Russian anyway, right? I remember looking into it, and that was almost like a separatist part of Ukraine. They were like ethnically Russian and all that stuff. So it's really kind of like a gimme. It's not, but the United States in its typical fashion, or specifically the interested parties that infiltrate our government in typical fashion, make the biggest deal out of it. And, he's a big fat meanie. And, oh, they're totally losing because they suck. And that's not really the case. We tried the sanctions on Russia and it totally did nothing to Russia, which really speaks to how, America still is living in its gay little like 1980s we rule the world thing, and then we totally fucking ruined that the past like 20-30 years, and now we're not really the unipolar power of the world. Russia is comparable, China is comparable, and we've stretched ourselves thin supporting foreign wars and gay retarded democracy and liberalism in Ukraine and that sort of thing. So but that's really interesting to hear that it's less of a big deal to the average Russian citizen than it is to the United States, average United States citizen.
No. You didn't understand it completely. It's we mostly choose to ignore it because we cannot do anything about it.
Okay.
It has affected us somewhat. I mean, inflation got really up. The ruble dollar course also, like currently, I believe a dollar is more than 100 rubles, whereas before the war it was like 60 rubles for a dollar.
Okay.
And there's a how they call it, labor shortage, of course, and stuff. So yeah, we mostly choose to ignore it because we cannot do anything about it. But it's also you cannot see the effects on surface like more devastating than just inflation, because we had the government had a really big how you call it, financial savings. So they just started spending it, and I'm not sure that it will go like that 2 years, for 2 more years.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it seems like it could.
Okay, so you're saying
Russia is suffering, from the sanctions and whatnot, and they can't go on like this, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel that they cannot, but we really aren't able to see it because it's all classified and stuff.
right. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying that people ignore it because they know there's nothing they can do about it, but it has had some precipitous effects on the economy, inflation, daily life, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, let me introduce you guys to Paul. Paul was my first Twitter friend. The origin story of Paul and I is I like hopped on Twitter. I just hopped on, and there was this video of college girls like dancing, that thing that was circulating a while ago, these sorority girls dancing. And so Paul replies to it, and he zooms in on the necklace on one of the girls, and of course the necklace is a Star of David. So I posted the every single time meme in response to that, and then that's how Paul became my bro. So Paul, the floor is yours. What's up, dude? It's good to have you able to speak this time instead of suspended for saying gay or retarded or something.
Hey, how's everyone doing? It's good to be on. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not banned this week. It's a 50-50 shot if I'm banned any given week.
Nice meeting you, Paul.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good Sunday here. Went to church with my family and just ate some spaghetti. Put my son down to bed, and I'm just chilling here on the couch, listening to people from all across the world on here, I guess.
Yeah, the racist community is the most diverse, warm, and welcoming once again.
It's true.
So yeah. Having the title here, Reply Guy Report. Dude, I'm like Reply Guy fucking champion last week. I was scaring the shit out of the hose. There was ones that you guys might not have seen was, some like libtard was crying about how the price of insulin went up from $60 to $600. So I said, damn, you know what's crazy though? The price of a gym membership is still $50 a month. People, these
Got
fucking
him.
freaks lost
Got him.
their minds, dude. I was getting like harassed nonstop. And it's so funny, like, and this kind of ties into like psychodynamics a little bit. These characters, like, aren't you guys like tired of just hearing the same like retard arguments that aren't even arguments? Like their epic own of me on that was, oh, so if I can't afford it, what do you think? I should just freaking die? And it's like, dude, how are we still doing this? What are we in high school? So that was a super good one. They also would like epically own me with the, oh yeah, well, that's not, you're talking about type 2 diabetes. This is type 1 diabetes. I'm like, oh right, yeah. Type 1 diabetes, that's 10% of all diabetes cases. And type 2 diabetics still use insulin. So it was all just that was one good meme. I don't know if any of you guys saw that.
Yeah, I saw it, but is it really true that type 2 diabetics can just work out and they don't need to inject insulin? I never searched into that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, more accurately, type 2 diabetes is caused by that misbehavior, but if you catch it early enough, it is somewhat reversible. I saw you on mute for a second, Paul, so you go ahead.
Working out it's not being morbidly obese is it's a good cure for a lot of things. If you're not just a fat, useless tub of shit, you'll find that your body works a lot better in every way imaginable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it kind of is like the vaccine for everything. Go ahead, man. Unfolded.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I completely agree. I think I might have stated this prior. Working with animals, that was the number one thing. We would have animals come in that were morbidly obese, and they would have skin issues, liver issues, literally diabetes, all these other problems, Addison's, you name it. And the number one suggestion was for the animal to lose weight. However, I've noticed in the vet field is how extremely liberal it is. And owners can pretty much come in, and because they are obese as the owner, they make the dog obese. And so when you tell the owner you need to make your dog lose weight, feed it different food, feed it less, whatever, and they get upset. They say, "Don't call my dog fat. I don't want to talk about it." And so then the treatment is pretty much out the window. Then we're just doing supplemental treatment. We're just bandages. And then this is where you hear, oh, veterinarian hospitals are just trying to get me for my money, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, it's just because you don't want to hear the truth and actually do the work to take care of your animal, or much less, if you're talking about a person, take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting? They take it as an extension. By extension, you're calling them fat, which in a way you kind of are.
You are. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you are. It's because it's your habits. It's your poor eating habits. It's your poor skills with having an animal that led to this situation. And a lot of people can't deal with that realization, so they lash out. And that's what happens in any situation. We're just talking about weight in general to anybody that's morbidly obese or whatever it may be. They flip out. Don't call me fat. I don't want to talk about it. So.
And it's usually like an HR lady that heavily personifies their cat or whatever. Oh yeah, my
Yeah.
cat's name is Linda. They call it a real name, and
She's also
and
vegan.
they ascribe. Oh, go on. And they
Yeah,
ascribe to
she's
like
also
health.
vegan.
Oh, sorry, we're talking at the same time.
Yeah, I say
Eh,
she also will say that the cat is vegan and trans or whatever.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
feed the cat
Yeah.
Oreos.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
there was that thing. There was that thing going around a while ago. It was called healthy at any size, where it's like, oh yeah, you can be a morbidly obese and still be healthy. You can't tell if someone is healthy based on their size. You know, health at any size or whatever it was. I think all the people.
Could I add something in?
Yeah, go ahead. Evolve mentality is that. Well,
I
yeah,
just
go.
thought about everything you guys were saying there, and I thought what was funny about that whole situation is that your original diagnosis was the animal's fat, but doctors are so afraid to say that to people, and that's a problem. I think that needs to be made normal. Like, listen, you're out of weight, you're overweight. You need to. This is the first thing we need to work on before we can even figure out if you have any deeper health issues. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Go ahead, coffee slurper. I saw you put your hand up there.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I worked in workers' compensation law for years, and you'd be amazed at the absolute glut that fatties take up in our medical system. They will literally cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to surgically implant a pain pump onto people where it just feeds them opiates all day because they're in constant pain, rather than just have these fatties lose weight. It's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. That really speaks to the underlying problem of people really are enslaved by their pleasure matrix. They're more willing to your point, put that band-aid on of opiates rather than actively change their habits, because that would mean they'd have to, you know, um, suffer the god awful, heinous hellscape discomfort of chilling on the indulgence for, just a fucking week or two. So
It kind of
that'd be
reminds
key.
me of what you said in your video, the last video I just watched, about how you're basically you're putting in place of a long term good effect a temporary, like you said, band-aid. Like you're prioritizing that quick dopamine over that temporary suffering to get long term dopamine. Essentially, I'm butchering what you said in your video, but that concept, I think.
No, yeah, you're good for sure. Man Unfolded, go ahead. You have your hand.
Yeah. So going back to, uh, I think what you were saying, Marchese, is that they don't want to do that introspection. I think that's very
Yeah.
hard for people. I think to look in on yourself and to call out what is wrong with you and to own it and do something about it is very difficult, especially today's day and age. It's easier to put a band-aid on it than to actually do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, War Torn.
Yeah, you're right on that front. 90% of the time, it's poor impulse control. So that probably would explain why they can't really change.
Yeah, there is a layer to that where impulse control has. I think we've all seen that there's impulse control, like a genetic element to it, which would explain the people who perpetually, who live like this perpetually their whole life and can't seem to shake it. There might be a genetic element to it, which begs the question of you almost don't want to mention that, though, because then they'll just take that as a cope excuse to continue doing what they're doing rather than change anything. So let's see. Is there anybody here? I see Doidled Tayet if I said that right. Welcome. Doidled is a married woman, and she was helping me fucking scare the hose last week. It was totally awesome. So, the floor is yours for a moment if you want to speak. You just hit the unmute button in the lower left. Okay, we'll stand by for a moment. Might be a tech moment. Let's go with I think we could just rotate. Let's go with Coffee Slurper. I saw your hand again, so you go ahead.
I just want to say I think you're touching on to an issue that the recent election also plays into, which is that fat, disgusting people overwhelmingly vote Democrat and leftist. And
Yeah.
our Führer's election shows that we're tired of that bullshit. We're refuting that whole aesthetic of ugliness and re-embracing classical beauty. And as a nation, you're seeing this from normies as well, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, one of the I'll just say this real quick. One of like the 5 pillars of like libtardism seems to be like no shame at all costs. I've noticed that everything about it very carefully provides people with this schema to not be ashamed of themselves in any way, shape, or form, not take accountability and all of that. It really is equivalent to like the kid who, when you're in like middle school or something and 2 kids are running for like school president and one of them says, recess every period, no uniforms, and free candy. And like a lot of people still will go along with that. So I'm not sure who had their hand first, war torn or man folded. We'll go with war torn.
My hand isn't up though, so it's probably a technical issue.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely
Yeah, it
technically.
just stays up.
Okay, yeah, I think it stays up. I think you have to like specifically click to not have it. Yeah, there's. I wonder if there's like a. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just wondering if it was good, if the hand was still up.
It still is. So I'll
Interesting.
try to.
I'll let you know if I have something to say.
Yeah, I think Evolved Mentalities was just checking it. Yeah, you guys look like you're checking it. So yeah, and you wonder, like, you go through your whole life, like eventually especially like some of us here are kind of into like the self-improvement type stuff. Eventually you are like self-improvement by definition is you're starting to ask yourself the questions of, is this working? Is this making me happy or is this making me pleased? Is this what I want? How many times am I going to fucking, indulge before I start asking myself, what do I really want out of my life? And but there's some people who just never start that, and it really is, and they're so convinced or they're so confident in their way of life because they like really have this misplaced valuation of pleasant, like they're hedonistic, like that's like their whole value system. And that's where they get their confidence from with it, coupled with, just like being midwits and not being able to think beyond the pleasantries, laziness, and all that. But ultimately, Coffee Serper, you kind of mentioned it, how they're like, they're very odious, not just in their appearance, but in their manner and all of that. And that's because, they're living by what they think is their value system, but it's not real. And the consequence of that is they are spiritually like restless. They are seething. They are like, they have this odiousness to them that is a product of deep down, even though they're not conscious of it, they really are just like hating themselves and are miserable because they're not living by a real objective value system. Which in this case is foregoing pleasantries, later and greater, finding who you are, and not in like that gay way of like, eat, pray, love, but understanding yourself and understanding what's like core to your identity and facilitating that. And for like, especially men, that usually takes the form of having some sort of project, some sort of craft, some sort of just any thing that you can pursue and persist and work on. So, I'll leave my thoughts there. If anybody else had something, go right ahead.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people in this world aren't even sentient because in my eyes or in my experience, I've seen that a lot of people that aren't sentient, they default to being hedonistic.
Yeah. Yeah, well said, actually. That's pretty like a contracted version of it. Yeah, they have no they're, I mean, kind of overused, but NPCs, right? Like they don't make decisions. They don't have agency. They don't have any real anything. They're just operating on their lowest level, neurology. It's like the Walking Dead meme, or the Walking Dead in the first season when the CDC guy shows them the brain activity of the zombies, and the only part that lights up is their amygdala. That's kind of like what they're operating on. So,
To add in there, towards the beginning, you posed it kind of as a question. Why do people lead down this road, and essentially what turns them off from it or turns them away from it? And I think that was really cool because, to the self-success movement, or like the Tony Robbins concepts, the motivational speakers, it seems to be that like that break moment where they hate themselves so much that they actually decide to do something about it.
yeah, and I've had stories of guys like that. They really, sometimes there is that like story of hitting rock bottom, and it gets so bad that there's no way, elsewhere but to go up. You know. So let me check.
Sorry, I didn't
I
have
think a
more
lot of
to add there.
I think a lot
That's
of
okay.
people are naturally NPCs, and that's okay for a civilization. A civilization takes all types, takes all kinds of people, and the vast majority of people don't need to worry about the bigger picture. They just need to chop wood or whatever they're doing, take care of their family, and that's it. And I think that's okay. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point to bring up when you zoom out. You can't have everybody, epically epic owning the shit out of everybody, because, there wouldn't be a societal structure.
Yeah. Not everyone can be the big thinker and the court wizard or whatever. I mean, the vast majority. You need a lot of janitors. You need a lot of you need a lot of people that just do all the small little important things, and they have a small world, and that's okay, and they just go with the flow. That you need that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
can we say how important they are too? Like they're actually some of the most important people to our society.
Yeah. Yeah. There is like a classical dichotomy of there's people in power, and where the power is concentrated individually, but when there's a large numbers of people running things, or doing all the little tasks, like Paul said, their collective power is also massive. So there's this like yin and yang type thing going on.
Yes, it is okay to be average. There's, there's not, like you said, I'm just adding to it.
Yeah.
It's all good to be or it's all good to be normal, average. Not everybody can be a mover or thinker, and it's not supposed to be that way. So,
Yeah, and one thought I've always had about that is actually, and this is kind of funny whenever I come across like a libtard, and like I'll agree with them on this point I'm about to say, and they think I'm like a libtard like them. Like, no, I'm criticizing the same thing from you, but from like a far right perspective. And one layer to that is, you do have like majority of people have to be occupy those kind of like worker bee positions. And, if that's all there really is to them, that's all there really is asked of them. They should be making enough money such that they can provide for their families, their life, and kind of live their, worker bee life, facilitate the little activities they want to do, and not have to think twice about money. And one of my thoughts about that is that does bring up the wage question, the payment question, because when you're like first getting into like politics and beliefs and right wing stuff, it like libtards who whine about like wages and stuff, they do kind of come off as whiny, but in a way, their premise there is they presuppose that that should happen. I mean, from a sense of entitlement, but the function of it makes sense because most people aren't going to have the capacity to do much more than bag groceries or, drive Ubers or whatever. And so, if you're going to pretend that they're capable of more, all in the name of lay free market capitalism, they're just going to be miserable because they think they're supposed to be more than they're not. And then if you let capitalism and all that get way too out of hand, like those people do wind up getting paid not enough. So they're forced to try to do more, but they don't always have the capacity or capability to do more. So that's destructive in a way too.
Yeah, our society should be set up where the auto worker that works in the factory should be able to afford a family of 5 on one income, and
Yeah.
childcare isn't taken care of by some illegal alien.
Yeah.
It should be, that should be self sufficient within the family unit there.
Yeah.
With the mom and maybe the grandma or whatever else. But yeah, the worker shouldn't have the stress of shouldn't have that type of central stress. That's what the king is supposed to do,
Yeah.
or the country is supposed to make sure that those existential threats are taken. The stress of not being able to be employed or whatever else. Yeah, a man that's an average man that does some sort of job in his country should be able to afford his family by himself. That's just what it is. And then in exchange, he doesn't have to worry about these big ideas and overthrow the government, because he's got he's got the toil that he needs to deal with, and that takes care of his family, and that's that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. This is a solved thing. It's solved. This is solved. We just have to look in the past.
Yeah, the current system just sends like highly competent people like way too far up and like basically retarded people way too far down. All in the name of like there's like I think Dan Bilzerian actually said this once. He said, there's not a difference between having like $1 million and $5 million. And what he means by that is like it doesn't make a substantive difference. Like it sounds gay to like be like earn money isn't everything, but there really is like demonstrable evidence to suggest that and you could just think about it, once your overhead is taken care of, the amount of money extra you have, it might be nice sometimes, but for most people they're not even really too interested in that as a means. So should we really be set up our entire system just so that, freak, greedy, compulsive people get to be sent that far up to the top at the price of most people getting sent way too far down? Did anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree mostly, but I disagree in a little bit, because I've seen also that it's not always that the most competent people get sent up to the top. A lot of incompetent people get sent up to the top too.
Yes.
Yes, because how do I explain this? People conflate confidence and having a silver tongue as being competent, but it doesn't
Yes.
always mean that you are.
Well, and there's something called the Peter Principle, where people in organizations will get promoted to their level of incompetence. So yeah, you're really good at being this machinist, and then they get promoted to foreman, and they just suck at managing people, but they're entrenched and they're not going anywhere. But they're not good, so they're not going to get promoted further. So people that stick around in organizations long enough will be promoted to their level of incompetence. It's called the Peter Principle.
Well said.
That's actually, yeah, that's great. I never heard of that, so I'm gonna like bookmark that right now. Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of how you have like all the workplace problems that you do now. Um, like a lot of these corporate characters too act like leadership is some sort of. I mean, you can like learn a thing or two, but there's also like a psychodynamic element to it that it has to be in your blood. It has to be in your personality, and you have to like cultivate it in a way that these like leadership trainings don't always do. So if you have people getting like skill-based promotion to something that requires a different set of skills, it's a recipe for failure.
Yeah, a lot of good leaders, they don't even want to be leaders. They reject the call. And most of the people that are actually bad leaders, they actually want to become leaders, but they don't understand.
Yeah.
Because they want power versus, fully buying in and doing a good job.
Yeah, and it's tricky because a lot of people try to get that promotion and all that because that's the only way to make more money. Because there is like a problem of, God forbid somebody in their position just stays in their position, just their pay increases given their skills and all of that. It just stagnates unless you become some sort of like gay manager or something. I saw you on mute for a second, Evolved Mentality, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that because I thought, wow, first off, I don't know, that was awesome. I laughed at some of that, especially the Peter part, because when the way he said it, some of these people get to the top and they just don't deserve it. That was fucking hilarious. But to the leadership aspect right there at the end, though, I think that's beautifully well said. And I've always thought that what makes a great leader is just empathy. And the reason why a great leader will lead any sort of system to a greater success is because they're looking at all the facets that make up that system. They care so much about it succeeding that they understand the entire process from the ground up. And that's why a lot of the best managers you meet worked from the ground up because they learned to appreciate every role. And that's just my opinion, but I thought that was so beautiful the way you guys, articulated all that. That was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, man. Unfold it. I think you raised your hand.
Oh no, that was to a prior discussion that we were having.
Yeah, Twitter Spaces moment, programmer moment, geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff kind of like is wonky. Yeah. When I my first like working experience was as a swim instructor at summer camps. And, even though you're not leading a group of adults, like when you are the adult, in the room or in the swim class and it's a bunch of kids, like you're thrusted into being a leader. You're forced to. And I find the effect that has on me is how conscious I am of the group's interaction and the feelings of everybody and where everybody sits and you have to tune into everyone's individual thoughts and feelings. I mean, that works with kids, but simultaneously, it's the same sort of principle amongst um, adults. And yeah, one of the things that I was asked of me in the army, they play the little games and they're like, what do you think, a leader is, Marchese? And I said, I think that's the person that is responsible for facilitating the cooperation of the group. And you might notice that amongst groups of people when there is like really what a lot of what they're doing is making sure everyone cooperates and everyone fills their role effectively and that sort of thing. So what was it again? Alex Jones Frog, our resident Slav. You have your hand up there, so I don't know if you want to speak or.
If not, I got something I can add.
Go ahead.
So it's actually a personal story. And that's why I think I loved it so much. I wasn't going to share it because people always have things to say about things they didn't do, but I'll share it. Yeah. So I've been, consumed with leadership most of my life. And at 14, 15, 16, I was always running small gaming groups, small things. And it always just led to one thing, but I never actually chose leadership. I was always voted in or picked or something to that effect. And when we turned 19, we started a leadership and self-development company. Actually, it was literally focused around that. We taught people short-term, midterm goals, how to reach those goals, simple things, how to break up their schedule, nothing complicated. But what's interesting about this whole conversation was that I started off with a real pure intent of just helping people and trying to make the world a better place. And that's why I kept getting picked as a leader. But then after the Judas effect, after I started, falling short or being betrayed or being 19 and just having my hardships and then being judged for it, it got to a point where I actually craved power more because I just wanted them to listen to me because I believed I knew better. And unfortunately, I think what's so beautiful about the way you guys talked about that is you guys covered the full spectrum, really. You covered why some people start off leading is because they're chosen. They don't pick it. They are the best for the job. But then unfortunately, that also corrupts some people. It corrupted me. I'm not good with power. I'll say it as is. And it took a long time to learn that, but I wasn't always like that. I became that way. It was a bitterness that was created over time that forced me to seek that power, that control, not because I wanted them under my foot necessarily, but because I really just wanted them to see what I saw. And I'm not saying right, wrong, indifferent. I think that it was the way you guys talked about it. It perfectly painted the scope of a good portion of what I've lived through. Actually.
I've also seen that every like if you're an actual leader, every job that you get, even if you don't want to, you always get pushed into leadership. Many jobs I've tried to just be like a normal drone, and even without me wanting to, they've without me wanting to, they've pushed me into leadership roles.
Yeah. Yeah, you try to fly under the radar and just all the attention's always on you with that. So
Also expectation too. To add to that, what sucks about that situation is that they always expect that of you then too after that, and it's because of your micromanagement skills, not even necessarily your people skills. It's because you just understand things on a level that makes sense to you simpler than it does to other people. And it sucks because then they expect that from you. You perform now at 120% for them, so they expect you to perform at 120% repetitively, and sometimes you don't even get a raise for it in some of these jobs, where they'll put you in a position of leadership, and then you're doing all these extra tasks that were never agreed upon, you didn't sign up for it, and you're not getting an increase in pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Go ahead.
that's why in my experience, I've also seen that being able to simplify things for people that aren't as smart is one of the most important abilities you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. What you said, evolved mentalities, made me think of how, you could tell you're kind of like being that expectation is being placed upon you when you're like, in a room amongst a bunch of people, and like the group, like a decision has to be made for the group, and everyone turns and looks at you. It's like a movie scene, and everyone's kind of looking at you, and they're just basically written all over their faces, like, well, what do we do? I think one of the layers that happens in that experience of that interaction is I always felt myself never afraid to make a decision for the group, even if it was going to be like screwed up or something. Provided you're not making decisions that get people like, really hurt or really fuck people's lives up. But if there's just like some sort of decision to be made, I'm never afraid of it being like, winding up being, a wrong decision, or winding up being a consequential decision. Uh, and I think that like the leadership to that is just being able to just accept, like, if you're wrong, like in a way, or if you made a wrong decision or an unpopular decision, and just being able to accept, that might garner you some judgment or something like that. Even amongst like groups of friends, if you're making a decision for like, what are we doing next and all of that, or, when you're in the workplace, like you said, and, there's no actual leader there, but you're kind of like the psychological leader amongst that group. So you kind of have to make the decision. I'm always prepared to face the consequences of those decisions. And I'm not afraid of it to be like wrong or shitty. Half the time I'll just say, oh, sorry guys, I kind of like, that wasn't a good idea. And nobody really gets mad at you. People are so afraid of like the perception that comes from that. But really, nobody's going to get mad at you. Nobody's going to, especially if you say, yeah, my bad. What are they going to do? Sit there and pout at you? And then, if you keep sucking or if you keep failing, you're just not going to be the one making the decision anymore anyway. So,
Yeah. People appreciate accountability, and they can suss out if you're bullshitting or if you're not being forthright. Like, hey, you know what? I made the best decision at the time with the available information and resources that I had, and I'm just sorry. Sorry, it didn't work out, team. We just got to keep moving forward. We can't dwell, and the vast majority of people will respond positively to that.
Yeah, you guys make a good point on that too, because that could also explain the reason why psychopaths usually get to those positions of power, because they are the ones that are willing to act, unlike others who don't.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
Not to
this
quote Thanos,
conversation I
but
have. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna quote Thanos and say I'm the only one with the will.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I see. You two are cursed with knowledge.
I mean,
Uh,
well, wait a minute. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Think about
you're good.
this is so deeper. Like, think about the way that Trump is handling this right now. He's tough dad right now. It's no, like I know what needs to be done, and it's gonna be done.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking to that, a lot of people. I always notice this as a kid too, is that people seem to view like they seem to project the dynamic between you and your parents as they project that dynamic onto the government and onto politicians. So they do kind of make like they're and this is where like a lot of it comes off as like whiny and baby. And to your point, Trump is doing the parent thing of, it might not be what you want, but it is what's best for you. And he's doing that, and all these people are like, crying about it and all that sort of thing. And it really speaks to how that people kind of live in like perpetual childhood, getting mad about that type of thing, or saying it's their fault and all of that. There's leadership with accountability, but there's also, on some level you have to have personal accountability irrespective of whether or not you're a leader. And then one more thing I did want to add, because this was so funny, Paul, we talked about when I wrote my article, you used the Jocko Willink example. It is profound how this guy, like it, he quote unquote took extreme accountability, and then that just that alone was so charming to everybody that it made him like this world famous, super tough badass guy. But it's so funny. It's like, okay, yeah, but accountability is not the only thing. Like, you kind of fucked up big there, you fucking goober. And all the tough guy
Yeah,
stuff.
he fucking ended up killing his own team. Oh yeah, I totally fucked up. Extreme accountability. Yeah, but you still like really fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, like
That you shouldn't be able to be a rich and famous, well-known person because you fucked up majorly and you said, "Oh yeah, I am extremely accountable for this." Yeah, if you were extremely accountable for this, you go live in a fucking cabin and fuck off.
yeah, I would be ashamed of myself for the rest of my fucking life. Uh, and it's funny too, because like the tough guy stuff. So I can tell you guys, my like origin stories in the gym stuff, right? You could see that in my profile picture and all of that. My origin story is like the get up early, epically epic grind and all of that. And like, look, I always get up early and I still get up early. But this goober, like with his 4:30 a.m. like watch thing, the reason I could tell it's a fraud is because you can wake up at the same time every day and do the same thing at the same time every day in the morning and all that. But given the way this guy like works and operates and all of that, and he does like an hour long like gay, jump around workout. It's not like serious weightlifting. You could tell that like, yeah, you might be waking up at 4:30, but nobody's confirmed whether or not you take a fucking nap right afterwards, take a little baby nap. If you're waking up early like that and then you shower, get changed, whatever, and it's like 6 in the morning, and then you go back home and you take a little baby nap, is that really like being a tough guy? Uh
You could also he could also just set his Casio wristwatch to whatever time
yeah,
he
yeah.
wants.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like posts it at 4:30, but now you can like schedule the posting anyway. So it's like, all right, bro. Moreover,
Yeah, yeah. People need to scrape the metadata. Like, oh, he actually took this photo 2 months
yeah,
ago,
yeah, yeah.
and he had it
Yeah,
scheduled.
we gotta send like our best 4chan like autists on that. We gotta task them with that.
Yeah, they'll take it. They'll know the geo coordinates, and they'll be like, oh, based on where the sun is, this is actually from 2 months ago. You're fucking lying.
Yeah. instantly just destroy his whole thing. I think Sam Hyde says it best about him specifically. You might have seen like Sam Hyde's videos on like gun guys, like, and all that. But he says all these like special operator, soldier, tough guys and all of that. He says, you know what they would never fucking do amongst all their tough guyness? They would never fucking start posing the questions of why was the United States involved in the Middle East? What's our relationship to our greatest ally in the Middle East? They could never in a million fucking years give up their gay supplements to be serious about questioning all the structures that that may be, and face the harsh consequences of that. Face the whatever, the ostracizing of that. If you're gonna be a tough guy, you gotta put your
There's a great that reminds me. There's a guy on Twitter, and I did a compilation. I did a juxtaposition meme of two of this guy's tweets. I'll see if I can find it, but he's got this tweet. It's like he's one of these operator guys, like be a monster, be a monster. Like unleash the beast, all that. And then he's got another tweet where it's like, don't be racist. Oh,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, the perpetual religion of the West is don't be racist because, being a big fat meanie is the worst thing ever. And like, yeah, you know what happened the last time somebody was racist? Like he who shall not be named. It's like, I think everyone's just tired of it now. Even my friends who aren't like, fully like getting into conspiracies and all that, they're just kind of fucking tired of it.
They have the it's like they have the morals of like of like a comic book villain where it's like, yeah, you can murder, you could do really heinous things and murder, but like Joker would never say the N-word. Thanos would never call out Israel. Thanos wants to get rid of half the universe, but he would never be anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Yeah, gets rid of half the population, but accept the population of them because, come on, even he wouldn't be that evil.
It's equity. It's equity. Genocide.
Yeah.
It's not genocide. It's yeah. He wants to kill half of all life, but equitable.
Yeah.
And before he does the snap, he does a land acknowledgement.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and that really speaks to how like ethics now has devolved. That is like woman ethics, really. Like woman ethics is kind of like taken over everything. And woman ethics is really just like, be nice, don't be mean, make everyone feel good. And like, okay, we've tried that. Like, it's just so over with that. And it's so funny, like all these tough guy types, and then they embody that. Like, they really don't understand what the fuck it means to be a man. And that's evident in their idea of what ethics is be nice, don't be mean. It's like, dude, like it's woman ethics and it's child ethics. So go ahead, Evolve Mentalities. I think you raised your hand.
I'm so conflicted. I'm so conflicted so far back too. It's so sucky. But the two original conflict is earlier, back to that leadership concept of accountability and everything. And I was looking back at my old situation. It was interesting because what I realized is similar to what Trump's going through. Is a good portion of the reason why I started to have problems was I wasn't able to identify quick enough who sucked, basically who couldn't do the job, who selection and succession. You have to be able to select people who can actually succeed you. And I think Trump's doing a good job this term of figuring that out. He actually had the same mistake I think I did at 19. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. But the other conflict now is the nice guy can't be tough guy thing. And I don't know if I'm misinterpreting that, but I'm struggling with that because I am everything that you guys are talking about right now. I genuinely, without saying it like I'm bragging, I've never thrown the first punch in a fight, but I do win a lot of fights. So I am arguably and objectively a tough guy from experience. With average people, not trained fighters, right? Not in a ring, but I am nice though too, and I want to be nice, and I think that that's harder sometimes because my initial instinct, I was a bully until I was like 15 or 16. I would really pick on people, and I can tell you why that stopped. I made someone cry, and I just felt it. I felt bad. I just felt bad.
Yeah.
And so I want the best out of everybody. And when I'm not wanting the best out of everybody, or like where I disappoint myself the most, I was doing a daily prayer for a little while because I wanted people to realize that the whole point was to look at yourself and realize accountability, what a piece of shit you are sometimes. And it sucks because I fucking, you've seen it. I like you go at people. I destroy people. I'm hurtful and I'm mean, but I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think that's what makes a real tough guy, is a tough guy that did what he had to do, but knows that it's still wrong.
Yeah. Well, the difference is like you certainly have decorum, have professionalism, have politeness. Don't go out of your way to just be like, hey, you're a fucking retard. Like that's gay and retarded, because that's just trying to assert, like it is the classical thing of like, you're pushing people down to bring yourself up, that type of like bullying thing. So not
Yeah,
having
similar
that
to what you said in your
decorum.
last video too, actually. You said
Yeah.
something about, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to necessarily put, and I get where you're probably going with this, is like if you're attack. But that's why I'm saying this grace part. Like, and this sucks because I'm gonna take the Christ route, and I don't want to bring religion into it now, even though I'm proud of it. But that's why I struggle, is because you're supposed to forgive your enemy. I can't get over that, and I know that that's literally what you guys are talking about. That it's the pussification essentially of men, and I don't know. And like he said, the superhero complex. I don't know how to get over that. So I am one of those people that you're talking about that suffers with that, and I don't know how to get past that, because to me that's the moral high ground. That's supposed to be the more powerful message. So how do I identify with something that's less powerful, and then claim that it's the more powerful? I can't. I don't know how. So I don't know. I'm struggling there. Real struggle. You can hear it. Like it's real struggle.
Sure. I'll let somebody else jump in if they had something to add or to go along with that.
Yeah, on another note, I don't know if it's on the same thing, but we were talking about the libtards a little bit.
Yeah.
I've also seen something pretty funny. The more time that passes, the less hipsters that I see out in the world, but I can see the narcissism that the hipsters have in the new libtard people, because they are so obsessed with their identity. And I'm thinking that the old hipsters became the new libtards. That's why we see all this weird stuff about who's more special and stuff.
Yeah, they have a similar sort of vibe to them, where they kind of speak in this like it's almost like they don't always do this, but it's if you were to personify them, they speak in like that voice, that's like that like breathy voice, and yeah, I just care about people and want to make sure, like that type of thing. It's all because the hippies have this, the first thought that comes to mind with hippies is they're kind of like counterculture, but in the name of this sort of compassion thing. And even though they're not counterculture now, similarly, they've evolved that compassion type ethos that was at the core of what they said. Just to tie multiple conversations together, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think if we remove part of the equation here too, like if we actually simplify it and we look at like the most arguably masculine cultures on the planet, where we were the closest to just being raw, just power, right? I saw this trending on Twitter earlier. We didn't actually evolve from that though. We evolved when we learned how to do the weaker man's, cycle. Making friends with your enemies, making peace with them so you can grow for a greater cause later. Almost that initial dopamine. So yeah, I can pick this fight now. I can prove how great and masculine I am now. But is that the greater masculine picture overall? Back to original full circle too, of talking about some people just don't get the big picture.
Yeah, there's a layer, there's an eyes on the prize element to it, whereby endless conflict does leave you kind of like as savages. So you learn cooperation to facilitate things a little bit more effectively. The classical like start of a lot of civilization starts with a division of labor.
And I think that's the meat in the middle, right? Not too far left, not too far right, but like where are we right and where are we wrong objectively? Like what has actually worked, back to the leadership in the workplace. What actually fucking worked and what didn't actually work, and let's not just pick a side because it sounds adorable. Do you know what I mean? Like let's actually pick a side that makes sense based on what we really believe or identify with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Man Unfolded, you haven't spoken in a while, so if you had something to say, go ahead.
I was just gonna speak on you all talking about being nice, or so to speak. I would just give a little pushback on that. I think being nice is more of a insult, especially to a man. I think you should strive to be kind, and then from there you can be nice. But to be just be nice is to imply you got nothing else. You're just nice.
Right.
I don't think that's something that any guy should strive for.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Isn't that kind of simplifying it though? Like if you're, I agree that you shouldn't strive to just be nice, but I think some of these things go hand in hand, and I think to single it out like that, yeah, you're right. Maybe don't just strive to be nice. You need to be able to stand up for people, and if fighting tyranny is not a form of niceness, then yeah, I agree with that sentiment, right? But I think not striving to be
As
nice.
a
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to, before you kept going down that path, I just wanted to say that being nice as a man from a position of weakness is not a virtue.
right.
Like kind of boiling down his point, being weak, being a weak man and being nice is just comes off as slimy. It's different for women,
Right.
but
No,
yeah,
but
I
originally,
digress.
remember, I started that. I started from a point of strength, and that's why I said like so. Like back to history, the people that were allowing us to move forward weren't the losers. The position of weakness, they were the winners, saying to the losers after, "We're sorry. You know what? Why don't we help you?" And I think that's a misconception. I think that I agree with you actually, because it's almost like if you have no money, how can you teach me how to be rich? I agree with you. If you're weak, you've never been in a position of power. How can you teach me how to be kind? I fucking fundamentally agree with that, but it doesn't change the original concept of that. I think again, like actually, you kind of just proved it more that the what makes you real strong. So you have two types of strengthly men, two types of tyranny, two types of masculine men. One of them forgives his enemies, and one does not. Who's the stronger man? I think it's that simple. One has
Yeah, you're
mastered
right.
something that the other has not mastered fundamentally, that we as humans consider to be something divine in most cultures, to be honest. But I won't even go that route. I'll just say extraordinary or exceptional or evolved. I don't want to be a cunt, but I'll say evolved. It's hard to have your name be that and then not use it. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. I know, dude. Thank you for correcting that it was Marchese too. Also, if I come off harsh, this is my thing. I put everything I got into it. But the reality of it
it's
is,
Marchese, by the way. You still slipped
Marchese.
up. It's Marchese.
I'm sorry, Marchese. I thought I got it right the first time, but even there, I'm showing niceness because
Marchese. Oh, I was saying Marquise. My bad, bro.
right,
You're
but right
good.
there,
You're good.
we're
It's
apologizing and we're saying sorry and being nice because we're taking accountability back to the leadership. We're taking accountability because we know that we can hold ourselves to a higher standard. Back to his gym thoughts. That's why I related so much with his gym thoughts, because I can hold myself to a higher standard. I can be better than this. So the stronger man is the person that knows that. Genuinely, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. I'm so sorry if it comes off as bolsterous and loud and
no,
all that
you're good.
garbage.
You're good. We're all on Twitter all day, so nothing's too strong for us, right? I'm sure we've all
Holy
dealt
crap,
with
are you right
everything and
about that?
everything. Yeah.
People say crazy
Go ahead, War
shit.
Torn. I heard you early. Real quick, I saw a War Torn on mute for a second there earlier, so I wanted him to go ahead.
Yeah, you're right, Evolved. Back in the day, it was the ones that were winning, the ones that were helping out the ones that were less fortunate, as they always say. Because back in the day, the harems were the things that were most common until the ones in power said that the people in the lower case were able to actually get married and have someone, well, they could be with, and it made them work harder, so they had something to work towards, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't want to jump right in again. I just yeah, it's and on a gym note, right? Because I do love gym culture, even though I'm not really like a part of it, but or I'm not committed. I'm a part of it. I'm not committed. But I will change that, hopefully. The No, I will change that. I don't like the hopefully there, but regardless, there's this guy Joey Swole that I've always watched, and I like him more for the social aspect of telling people they're assholes for doing what they're doing. But I also think he's kind of my version of a nice dude, a nice man. He's a man that's genuinely manly and masculine, but he's also a nice person and trying to get other people. He's actually being mean to people being mean. So he's trying to get other people to be nice by being mean to them. And I'm kind of like totally in support of that.
I think
If you hate him, I'm
we're
sorry.
probably all having different ideas of what it means to be nice versus being mean. Um, Certainly, I think
Also
we
true.
all.
Definition moving forward could help if we
Yeah,
establish the
I
baseline.
think when I say nice, it's every combination. And when I'm like, criticizing being nice and attacking it and calling it like gay and retarded and all of that, what I'm talking about is kind of like what Paul said earlier, niceness from from a place of weakness, like obligatory niceness because you're not in power. So not only is that disingenuous, I think being nice. I mean, the classic simp thing of being nice as a currency, as a it's like the meme where I think it's the Simpsons. He's holding up like a punch card, and it's like times I was nice to women, and like the 10 punch holes, grants him one sex, one unit of sex, like that type of thing. And I think when I talk about, nice as, the final layer to it, I think, is when I talk about being nice and criticizing it and saying it's, cringe or whatever. I think I'm talking about people just denying truth to spare feelings. And a lot of people abuse that idea. They'll say things like, oh, yeah, well, I tell it like it is. And it's like, yeah, that's just code for like being an asshole. Like you can't say I tell it like it is. And I'm just, yeah, you're stupid. I'm just telling you like it is. Like that's like just a cope excuse to be a bully. But I think if you're speaking truth and it hurts somebody's feelings or it hurts their schema or it makes them uncomfortable, but you're gonna not speak truth be to spare those feelings like that, then that's where it's just
Do you
ridiculous.
care
And
also? Intent.
yeah,
Are you telling them because you want them to improve and be better? Or are you telling them to hurt them and make them feel like less?
yeah. And I think like you shouldn't like this idea that we have to have love for everybody. Like I'll have courtesy, I'll have respect, I'll help everybody out, but I don't have like I have love in like the Christian sense for everybody, but I'm not like really all that interested in every single person I meet, and I'm not really I don't exist to be, make them feel good, I'm having a tough time articulating this, but I think
I would argue you
I
do
got
too,
you. I
though.
got
You doing what you do with your fitness stuff. That is the goal, is to make other people feel good and find the truth of the universe that you found. I think you do that.
well,
I got you, Marquise. It's being nice for the sake of being nice,
yeah.
right?
That's a good way to say it. When it's disingenuous and you know being
So
nice, like
like Destiny
what
and like those
exactly is
types of
that?
people. Is that what we're referencing? Like the people who did it, or Selena Gomez with that recent video, that type of concept. That's
Yeah, like
disingenuous.
that's just putting on an act, and that's really not. That's actually self-centered to do stuff like that because you're not making it about the migrants. You're making it about you.
So can I ask a
When
question?
Yeah,
If they're doing it disingenuously, and the word being disingenuous, does that make it not actually nice?
yeah. I'm like if you're going into philosophy like that, I'm an intent type person.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
That's why I'm totally with you on that.
yeah.
So if there's an intent, I was hoping somebody would have said indifference, but nobody said that. So I'll give you guys what I was hoping someone would say. But if you don't walk around just wanting to be nice, then will you walk around wanting to be mean to people? That doesn't make any sense. So nice is the only option, or indifference. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it really begs the question, we kind of have this default state of thinking of nice as like the good thing and but why do we think of that? Why is that? why do we think being nice is the proper thing or a righteous thing and all of that? Um, like, is that just, is being nice to everybody the same thing as being just? It's not nice to like punish criminals and that sort of thing. And the only, a lot of people, niceness versus meanness or whatever, they have the operative ethos there is really valuing just like feeling good versus feeling not good and making that like morality. And I think we can make morality about a little bit more than, stuff like that. And this gets to the question of when,
That's
like,
a
on
good
our
thing
side of
too.
like politics.
Group
uh,
morality, group morale. If you're nice to people, people are nice to each other. You have a better group morale.
right. Well, I'll just say this. This gets to like when they totally think they wreck and own you by saying shit like, how does it affect you personally, like whatever, gay marriage, let's say, or gay shit or whatever. A lot of people operate the arguments for that of like, what are the consequences of it? But I think you can have a morality where you just think something's wrong without, a consequential justification for it. Like, you can just say and believe something is wrong without there necessarily being a consequence that hurts people. Pain and hurting people versus, not hurting people is not the only dichotomy of morality. So I think that's where I was getting at with all of this, actually.
No, it's also true too. No, it's not that simplistic. That's 100% fair. That it's not that simplistic. But I think that the anything anything not extreme, like murder, rape, all those things that are just genuinely not nice, or no, not hold up, not rape, because we're gonna say murder is somewhat essential. Like you're killing rapists, or you're killing bad people, or you're hurting bad people, which is also still not
Right.
nice. But I think that actually what you point out there shows that in that extreme, the dichotomy, the two sets of extremes between it, there's not actually a lot before we have to say that everything above this should just be a standard. Hold the door for someone, or don't hold the door for someone if you really don't think that that's considerable. But you see where I'm going with this, to just genuinely say, hey, how you doing? Smile at someone, not be an asshole as you walk around, right? Those some small things. So I think that I agree with that, actually, that it was simplistic. But even if we were to make it less simplistic, it's so lopsided that like there's only so many things that we genuinely won't accept, and that it's okay to not be nice to those people, right? Or it's not okay, but we can at least justify it. You know what I mean? But it's only like maybe 5, 10, 20% max of the things that we would classify as heinous, I guess, if that makes sense. And then I'd say the top 80% of it is just the normal things. Don't steal someone's phone, don't invade somebody else's country, don't take money from people. I think that the majority of the shit's actually commonly agreed upon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead,
Well,
Warfare.
Marquise, the whole being nice thing could also be a thing that's a problem with the schools, because most men, they have to be nice. If you act out or you speak your mind, you are reprimanded, so you can't really say what you want anymore. So being yourself is considered like I would say, being masculine is considered a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like one of the highest
Wait, but
crimes.
is it a bad thing? It's not. If you're telling someone that they're fat and it's going to hurt their
No,
life,
no, no,
it's not bad anymore. Now
no,
it's a
no.
nice thing,
You
right?
misunderstand me. You misunderstand me. You misunderstand me. In the
Go ahead.
school's eye, in society's eyes, it's not that it's bad. It's
Oh, it's
seen
not. Yeah,
as
it's
a
not
bad
objectively
thing as
bad. It's that the
society. Not
schools are
anymore.
manipulating it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, my bad, my bad.
Yeah. Uh, my version of that, or my experience with that, is when I taught the swim lessons with the kids, I was not being a jerk or anything. But especially because, I'm a gym bro, right? So I have this very strong image of masculinity. When people picture like big fat meanie jerks, it's always like a jacked guy, right? So when I was at camp and doing swim lessons and all that, when you have kids, you have to control them. And controlling them means speaking firmly, speaking in a relatively deep voice. You're not just like, "Hey, um, do you think you could please maybe stop doing that?" It's Timmy, get down now, and people have this thing because of that ethos, because of that the dichotomy we're talking about. They think that because that's not, especially like the women that I had to deal with, they thought that because if I talked to them like that, that would make them mad and hurt their feelings. it's necessarily wrong to talk to the kids like that, because they can't, it's like solipsism. They can't conceptualize the difference between their mind and somebody else's mind. But it, that speaks to this false ideology of, you know, hurt is the high crime, and masculinity has this association with hurt. That's why, to tie it into what you said with war torn, masculinity has this relationship with hurt, because masculinity, in its essence, is defined by or one of its defining characteristics is its capacity to inflict hurt. But I don't really think hurt is necessarily like the uh not penultimate. I keep using that word wrong, because
Not a
that's like
bad
the
thing.
second most, but the
Yeah,
highest
I got
crime.
you. I got you.
And I'll just say one more thing is that, like, for example, when I see some of these videos of people doing pranks or something, out in public and all of that, I find that stuff to be more offensive and degenerative because of its operation in this moral gray area middle ground, where people, oh, okay, well, at least he's not hurting anybody. Oh, okay, well, is that bothering anybody really? Oh, it's just a joke, relax. I find that type of stuff to be more like wrong and more offensive because of how sneaky and perfidiously it infects, and degrades everything. So I'll leave it there. Go ahead, Paul Dozer.
Yeah, I just that was really good. There was a lot there. That was yeah. I can't talk about all of those things that you just touched on, but yeah, that was good. That was enjoyable to listen to. But I was just going to add that when you're talking to the kids, it's when I was growing up, probably half my teachers, half the adults that I interacted with were men. Lots of male teachers, Boy Scouts, sports, whatever. But now when you see kids growing up today, and education is completely dominated by women and libtarded women or troons or whatever else, kids aren't getting like a masculine man in their life. If they're lucky, it's their dad. But half the time, like their dad is soy anyways. So it's important to have your kids exposed to, like, for you to be masculine, and to have them around like just like actual men. It's because I think my son is he's 2, and I think about, okay, yeah, all the people, most of the adults that he interacts with are just like women that are like caring and doting, and they're just they don't want to, they just want to be nice and sweet, and like I am maybe the only masculine man, besides his grandfathers. I'm maybe the only masculine man in his life that really interacts with them regularly, and I just, the societal implications of that over, it's not just me, it's everyone, and it's everywhere, and it's everyone. They're not hiring, but I had teachers that were like Bubba the redneck that had a shotgun or a hunting rifle in the back of his cab of his truck he drive to school. The shop teacher, that would chew tobacco during class, and was irreverent to like gay pansy shit. They don't hire that guy anymore. So there's a lot. I mean, this is a whole other sort of side quest of what you were talking about, but I just wanted to make that comment.
No,
You're right, so we ruined it.
A really good point to that is, I think what I noticed when I worked with kids like that is, even though I was quote unquote, when I talk to them, like, get down, this, that, the other thing, establishing that consistency and establishing like the rules and following up on them, that has the effect of making them feel safe and making them feel like they can trust you. And the reason they're being is because you're relatively predictable, and predictable on how you enforce rules and that sort of thing. So they really become much more at ease, because now there's not anything left up to question. when they know how to deal with you. And every year at camp, like after the first week, I would establish some of the rules and all of that, and I would never have behavioral problems because they know I would follow up on it. If they do whatever thing, they learn to value not doing whatever thing, because I would give them a good, not, I wasn't explaining myself, but I would give them like, look, you got to learn to value this. You can't be doing this, that, the other thing. If you guys are out of control, we don't facilitate camp correctly and that sort of thing. And they would totally eat it up. And they ate it up so much so that I could tell that they feel they trust you. And especially as a man, when they trust you, they start to feel safe around you, because despite libtards and women and all of that, at the end of the day, if you're like in a school or something, and a little kid school or a little kid camp, and let's just say, I mean, this is kind of like morbid, right? But it's our times. If there's like an active threat on the campus, all of the kids, it's like those movie scenes where the people crowd behind the one guy. Like, all the kids are going to crowd behind you. They're not going to crowd behind the women. It's in their nature. They still very much are products of their nature. What's more, once they know what boundaries there are and they can operate in, you can be like, there's a layer to that masculinity where both you're like the guiding principles, but also you're the fun, right? The image of the dad coming home and being fun. That was me. I would do the jokes, even like silly stuff, like super silly jokes with kids, they'd be like, "What are we doing today?" And I'd be like, "We're going to swim a million laps, and then we're going to dig to China." And then, you just kind of can build that sort of imagery, that sort of playfulness. And they really take well to that. That's something too, that is like the role of the male figure. And especially the father. You're able to be silly, and that, but you also give them the boundaries within which to be silly. And that's really essential to their development. So somebody else can go ahead.
That was beautiful. Just
You
saying.
you can't just have women raising kids. Oh, sorry to
No, you're
interrupt.
good.
No, I was just gonna compliment them. That was really awesome. I loved that. That was so perfect as a new dad.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, that's the one thing that women don't really understand about masculinity. That being hurt and being masculine are, well, they go hand in hand, because as men we are
Because life
born as
sucks, we're all
nothing.
gonna get hurt.
No,
Sorry, I
because,
said life sucks, we're all
because
gonna get hurt.
because as men we are born with nothing, and our growth is what makes us men. So if they
Yeah.
keep protecting us from getting hurt, we can never grow. We stay as children.
Yeah. There is that thing. Emotional resilience is essentially one of the core tenets. Um, I do want to say, and perhaps because that reminds me of, there are some guys that, think that emotional resilience is the only pillar to masculinity. And that's how you have these like Jocko Willink type, these like, masquerade, I call it masqueraded masculinity types, especially like on Twitter or even in the military. I really had I think the word, like, a strong disdain for it. You know, I think anathema might be the word, for these characters that they thought emotional resilience was the only pillar to being a man, being an alpha, being a leader. So much so that, like, that's where you get that culture of, well, I'm going to obey my, I'm going to obsequiously obey my superior, because if I don't, that means I'm like a triggered pussy, and that means I'm being emotional, and that's not being a man. So when they're disrespecting me and yelling in my face and being wrong, I'm not going to be a triggered pussy, and it's just like, that's how you get the joke. You take that joke. That's where you get the jokes about the military of like, yeah, my staff sergeant, stuck it in me, but I'm tough, I'm alpha, and I just took it like a man. Like, on some level, emotional resilience taken too far becomes, well, now you're just servitile. Now you're just, like a subordinate. And that's not really masculine either. My experience with that, like, as soon as I went into the basic training camp, these characters, I took one fucking look at them and I was like, is this my life now? Did I just sign away the rest of my fucking 20s to being a servitile retard, getting lectured by drunk alcoholic, poor, retards, 3-time divorce champs on like how to fucking be a man. Like, are you kidding me? You're a bunch of fucking bitches. And I have to sit here and, in the name of emotional resilience, take that. Like, fuck you. I'm better than, like, not that it's always about I'm better than all of you, but like masculine wise, if there was like a ranking system, it's like, yeah, I outrank you. So you have no place talking down to me, and you're going to use the triggered cop out. You're going to use the, oh, you're a sensitive little baby cop out. But, on some level, part of being a man is being confident in like, you can be, disgruntled. You can like object to the circumstances, and that doesn't necessarily imply you're like a triggered beta or whatever. So that's just where I figured I'd take the masculinity and emotional resilience.
Real quick to add there, Elon's seeking of truth. We should seek truth, question things. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, it got quiet, but that's cool. No, it's honestly, I think that's like the core of masculinity. Honestly, not really. It's not. It'd be the core of like being a human intellect, right? Challenging things, but no, 100%. We do the hard shit, and we have to do the hard shit, and we're expected to do the hard shit, and that's okay. That's totally okay.
Yeah, the pursuit of truth, irrespective of what happens. Let me see who else.
Objective. Objective. That's what makes it so beautiful. That's why I said it as a joke earlier, but I said, yeah, because we're all gonna suffer. Like, life sucks. Get over it.
Yeah.
It happens. You can be a winner, you can be a loser. That's it. Pick. Honestly, I'm still losing, but you could be a winner, you could be a loser.
That's why my slogan is eyes on the prize, because that's an operative one-liner there for you to figure. Operating on that is the fuel to finding, if your eyes are on the prize and you know what that prize is, or at the very least, if you don't know what that prize is, but you have to find a way to get your eyes on it, which means discovering what it is. You necessarily are setting yourself up to be willing to face whatever is in the way. There's nothing more masculine than being willing to do what it takes. Obviously, that comes with like some caveats and stars, asterisks. Don't go on like a murderous rampage or something for whatever. But there's that layer to that.
It was like Drive, right? You're driven.
Yeah. Driven, and not in the way that people think of motivation, because people think of motivation as like the TikTok edits with like the music and the cuts to the guy in the gym, and it's slow motion and it's black and white, and that stuff's all good, but that's not really the same as, that's like the emotion of motivation, but that's not motivation in terms of like what makes you want to, like, what do you want? If you want something, your motivation is that thing, ascertaining that thing, and you operate on that to be your influence, your turn on button for adjusting your behavior or making your moves accordingly.
Yeah, so simplified, it's you have a vision first, and then you find the drive to get to your vision, right?
Yeah, your vision is your drive, essentially. If you have that goal, like, you don't need to feel motivated. You just do the thing it takes to get that goal because you want that. That's how you make it stick, essentially. Because I've come across some clients and just people overall who have this idea of quote unquote losing motivation, and what they're referencing is that feeling of like that feeling you get when you watch like an epic TikTok edit or something. You're like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym, like that sort of thing. That doesn't last, and that's never going to be enough to get you started, get you going. What gets you it's gay. I hate when like fitness tards say this, but it's like, I'm not motivated, I'm just disciplined. That's kind of like the gist I'm getting at with that.
Yeah, so like the TikTok edits, they give you the short drive, and then through trial and error, you get that drive eventually when it becomes part of who you are. Failure is going to happen anyway, so
Yeah.
just grow from it. And yeah, you become more.
Yeah, it's the meme that's been floating around. You can just do things like, that is like an operative principle that actually makes sense. You can just do things like, oh, I want to do this. Okay, I can just do it. And that's always like it takes a lot for people to really feel that in their mind and soul. You could say just do it. Like, what do you mean? Just go to the gym, like right now, just do it. But it takes a lot for people to really feel that in their soul. And there's not always it's not always clear when that clicks, but you'll know you're operating that way.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people they don't understand that they have the ability to do things, so they themselves feel powerless. So
Right.
they never start. For like you just have to start doing things that interest you.
Yeah.
So like if you want to try and build a computer, try it. You fail, well you fail. If you want to like change the battery in your telephone, try it. If you fail, you fail, and if you win, then you grow. That's everything is about growth.
Yeah, it's like you talked about last time. People don't understand they have agency. They have total autonomy. They have control over themselves and their lives. Somehow people just sort of imagine that they're not in control of anything.
I think there's a base. Not. I don't want to add to that. I wanted to add to something else, but I think there's a base nature, animalistic instinct. To be fair, but
Yeah.
but to the actually, never mind. I might have. Oh no. I was gonna compound interest, similar to what you said in some of your videos. I do also
Yes.
think that it relates to success. That a man and masculinity. I think a man. That's probably why we see men really get ahead, and some men that most men like. There's very big gaps. I guess is how I'll word this, and it's because some of them have succeeded so much that they truly do believe that they can do anything, and that's beautiful, actually.
Yeah, the compounding interest is a good point. That is a lot of me. What I'm doing right now, Marchese methods, all this stuff. It's so funny because everyone everywhere thinks to themselves at some point, "Oh, I know how I'm gonna, get successful. I'm gonna be like a internet person or a content creator, quote unquote, or whatever." But nobody ever starts that. They get analysis paralysis and that sort of thing. But I was like, I've set myself up in such a way that I can do this. So I said, you know what? I'm going to answer that question for myself. I'm going to set this up, my website, my stuff, deploy my principles, and I believe in it in such a way that, however it turns out, like I'll know I at least answered that question for myself. And it's so funny because people just do that classical thing of like they've always got something smart to say, or especially like you come across retards on here, this is kind of funny. This goes back to like the reply guy report, right? That like retard, I don't know if all of you guys were here for this, but that like retard where I was like, oh, there's those girls on here that like all have the same, like half their face in a profile picture and do these one-liners that are so cute and quippy and edgy. And her epic own of me was like, oh yeah, well, you don't have as many followers as I do. And it's like people love to like play that up. And it's like, people really operate on this idea that like the more collective approval there is of something, the better it necessarily is. So all that's to say that in terms of like the kind of like motivation talk we're going with here, like, and the agency talk, like it doesn't like there's no objective, like for a lot of things there's no objectively correct, true, one singular formula for everything. I have a lot of people trying to tell me, oh well, nobody has an attention span anymore, so you should do like TikToks. And I'm like, look, there's people that I watch online that talk for an hour or two straight. There might be some things that other people pay attention to for an hour or two straight. So I know that there's going to be an audience for me to talk for an hour or so straight, and there may not be an audience. Will most people be in that audience? No, but that's not really the operative question here. Just greater numbers doesn't necessarily imply better or more successful or whatever. And that all ties into compound interest of what you said. A long enough presence online will build up. A long enough time doing anything will build up. If every day I'm doing whatever, this, that, the other thing for 5 years, certainly there has to, it can only go up, it can't break down unless, I don't know, unless you do something like really retarded or whatever. But so I'll end that part there.
That's kind of funny with the reply guy thing that you were saying. You could be the smartest and have the best response ever, and it doesn't really matter because the other person can just say, "Lol, didn't read," and then you're screwed, right?
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's
this
the
is
saddest part.
fickle. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say I think that's the saddest part of our thing. I have a lot of videos I never upload because I'm too mean. But I actually said that about the Dean Withers and those fucking kids. And the end of it, I had a nice quote, and I wish I would have uploaded it, but it was "end to the unserious," and it's because I can't stand fucking people who aren't serious. Yeah, and I don't know if that's what I was supposed to get from that, but that is what I got from that.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, this is all fickle. A lot of this online interaction, and trying to generate sort of trying to generate like a groundswell of support or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a vertical climb because it's way too easy to be fickle on the internet.
Yeah.
It's kind of the default. The default is being fickle, so it's very, very, very hard to build an audience, or whatever people's intentions are.
Yeah.
I'm on here just to shit post and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I understand a lot of people are trying to, like, they've got businesses or they've got things or whatever, and they're trying to generate attention. And it's just we live in the attention economy now, and it is so incredibly difficult to get people to tune into you and then be dedicated to you. It's a vertical climb. It really is.
Yeah, like a infinite slope.
That's the one thing good about the internet and the social media, though. A lot of people aren't very smart, so their interests, which are like cat videos or stupid TikToks, they get dumber. But the people that actually want to learn, because we are able to exchange information with other people that are smart like ourselves, we are able to grow. So we become more of the thing that we consume. So we ourselves are getting better at speaking. Like myself, I'm able to speak better than when I started, and Marchese knows that himself.
Yeah, dude. Even just last time, there's a good difference there. We have a Red Moist Critical. You just requested to speak. I don't think I have you on my followers and all that. So wherever you came from, welcome. I don't know if you've been listening long enough that you had some ideas you wanted to put, but feel free if you wanted to speak.
No, I just saw Paul Dozer in here, and I'm working on a weird Bluetooth headphone thing just for 1 second here. So I'm going to shut up and then I'm going to listen.
Okay. Yeah. It's like the Sam Hyde, if you've ever seen the Sam Hyde versus technology videos, it's so funny, where he's like, okay, Google, and it just completely fucking butchers it. And he's like, guys, the future is here, so whenever people bring up technology, it's always so funny to me because technology sucks still. So
Yes,
go
it
ahead, man,
does.
unfold it.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah, we're just here, just shooting the shit on a Sunday, having a good time, talking about anything, and talking about anything. So if you've got anything you want to talk about, if something's sort of grinding your gears or what, feel free to throw your hat in and just start chatting.
So I was gonna say to pretty much everybody's point that life is like a shooting range. You take aim, you shoot, and then you zero in to see where you made those mistakes so you can make the correction. And sometimes it's going to be closer, sometimes it's going to be further away than what you did, but that's just that's life. That's just how it is. But you got to keep going till you keep hitting that target, and then you got to keep hitting it, and you got to keep hitting it, and that's what you guys keep talking about, the compound interest. It's that consistency. That consistency. You can put out dog shit, you know, information or dog shit content, but if you're consistently on there doing that, people are gonna watch it, and so you keep doing that with anything, and then zero in on what needs fixing and whatnot. your platform will grow. And I'll be honest, I suffer from that as well. Um, I started doing interviews on campuses when I was in San Jose, going to college out there and stuff. I posted a couple on Instagram, and then I got completely tied up with school again and whatnot in life that I ended up stop posting. So, do I want to get back into it? Yeah, but you know, it, that's just it's life. Sometimes you're not, uh, I guess, not where you would like to be, but that's where you start zeroing back in, so you can keep on going.
Well, there's something to be said for like to build something from scratch, you have to be ahead, in a way. Like you have to, because it's gonna be a zero ROI at first, unless you're like, I don't know, whatever.
Correct.
Some people think that's like a cope for like, sucking or whatever. But whatever it may be, like you do anything, it's gonna be a zero ROI at
Correct.
first. Even college, for example, it's a zero ROI, a negative ROI, and to make up for that negative, you have to be in a positive surplus. And that goes for everything from money to time to whatever. That's where like a lot of the passive income ideas come from, is because if you have passive income, you have a surplus of time and money that you can further use to make up for the negative initial ROI on whatever project you have going, and but then it returns a surplus in the end.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like the Man Unfolded said that it's like a shooting range because back in the day they used to understand the world through like what was available. So I guess one person used to say that it was like a train, and then as things advanced, they changed it into a computer. So it's about our whole world is about the way that we see it, the lens which we see the world. Like, let's say a doctor sees it through a doctor's point of view, a scientist through a scientist's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And when we all join together in our vision, we understand the world clearer because we are able to see all the different perspectives together so we can see the full picture.
That was well said.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about that? Been here for like 2 hours, huh? That's pretty good. Lots of good ideas.
Yeah, I'm not on here trying to build a business or anything. I assume some of you guys are, but yeah, I think whatever you're doing in life, make sure that you're enjoying it and you're sort of dedicated to it and trying to get better every day. Yeah, because what else is your option? Just to lay down and die and just be a fucking loser and DoorDash and Netflix and just be like the biomass sort of slush that everything else is. I mean, you got to make sure that whatever you're doing, that you're trying to, whatever it is, that you enjoy it and you're really trying to just hone your craft, be intentional, be better at it all the time. And I'm just like, again, I've had a lot of different jobs. I'm almost 40. I've had a lot of different jobs in my life. I've got a family now, and I respect that some of you younger guys are just trying to do it, trying to make it. I don't really have the time for a side hustle or anything like that. But in terms of my career over the years, I'm pretty much established. I've got my network. I'm in a good place, and I'm definitely empathetic to what you guys are trying to go through. It's a new world, even from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. It's a much different world. Much harder to buy a house than it's ever been. There's just a lot of roadblocks that have been put up, and hopefully those things change for the better. But just don't do what and I'm sure you guys already know this. It's like, don't do what the vast majority of the worthless masses are doing out there. We're just jerking off and watching Netflix and getting DoorDash from some illegal alien. Just don't. It's so there's so many traps. to fall into, just to being worthless. So it's kind of an IQ test of like avoiding all those pitfalls.
Yeah, you said something goated 07 for that. You say something I say all the time, which is like, what the fuck else are you gonna do? Like, how much fun is it gonna be, rolling around in your pigsty, even if you're not like necessarily a malfunctioning person, if you have your job and you go to your job and you do think like, do you have something to do? Do you have something that kind of intrigues you in like a sense of yourself and your spirit that's more than just, uh, you know, sticking your snout in the trough, so to speak.
Yeah, learn how to carve wood or something. Don't just sit around and
Just
jerk
like,
off and smoke weed and watch Netflix. Like actually, like learn how to play guitar or something. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, there's no time limit on that type of. A lot of those software guys, like unironically, that's how a lot of those software guys operate. Like they kind of build their own. It's like the computer version of like building stuff out of wood. They're building their own little programs and apps and stuff, and they just do it for the hell of it. And some of them make something of it. Sometimes you very well can promote it in such a way that it becomes a source of income and all of that. But it's an occupation that just gives you like life force, rather than, kind of like time travel. The that video where it's like, if you want to time travel, just like go ahead and do what you said, just to lay around. Um, that's not to be conflated, like how we talked about earlier. That's not to be conflated with, people do just kind of, there are quite a few people that just need to live like a basic life. But even in them, they should have something to do. So,
Well, on that note, they kind of lie to you in society because they tell you, get the bag and everything. But in my experience, the whole getting money is the worst thing you can do technically because for me, I've seen that making connections actually works better. When people owe you favors, you can actually call in those favors, and those favors will be worth more than like let's say $1,000.
yeah. I know
yeah,
someone's got their
absolutely.
hand up. I'll just cut in here. I've been in a lot of different industries and different fields. I've had 6 different jobs. Um, and every business that I've ever been in has been a relationship business. It's been about people. It's been
Yeah.
about networking, and not just in like this gay hustle grind, like that stupid bullshit. It's like actually like making friends with people, being interested in their lives, having them over for dinner. But of course, not in a gay hustle grind culture way, like in a very genuine, in a genuine way where you care about people and you're invested in their life and they're invested in your life. I mean, for me, that's how it's always been. It's always been about people, but in a genuine way. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
100%.
Somebody else talking.
I 100% agree with that.
I
Because it's like that I've gotten multiple jobs. Just a guy who knows a guy. The
Yeah.
power of weak connectors. You know a guy who knows a guy, and it's like, oh, I know that guy's not a psychopath because this guy's not a psychopath, and he's vouching for him. That's how the world works. It really is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a couple different things. That was so cool. But I was gonna say I definitely want to grow on social media for different reasons. Though, like I have my YouTube channel, I could have monetized it. I didn't because I just want to give information to people, and I'm delusional and actually think I have something to offer the world for some reason. So I do still crave that fame that you all talked about earlier, but for
You
different
do,
reasons. I
King.
actually
You do,
um
King.
yeah, I have a problem with taking money. That's actually why I suffer so much sometimes in life. I'm not even kidding. I'm not gonna get into that, but I actually give way more than I get. But which could be weakness. But the point is, yeah, I don't want to be misclassified. I'm not actually doing this for money. I just really do delusionally believe I think I see truths in the world, and I hate when other people don't see what I see. I don't know how to explain that. I'm just genuinely frustrated and irritated that other people can't see as simple as I see, and that makes me delusional. I know that. I get that, but that I can't help that. And then to the new concept, I have nothing actually good to add. I'm not gonna lie, you guys kind of did really did a really good job.
You know, it's kind of funny also with the whole money thing because the government can tax you on if you exchange money. Let's say somebody does something for me and I pay them $1,000. They're gonna tax me on that. But if they owe me a favor or I owe them a favor, they can't tax that. Plus, it builds our relationship too.
That's a
There
good
is
part
something
though
to be
too.
said.
Relationships.
Yeah, with the relationships and networking and that
This
sort of
is
thing. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of networking a little bit right now, right? And there is something to like some of your best times and memories and best circumstances do come as a product of just like having friends. You know, like like I hated my time in the military, but like those friends, those bros, and I never went overseas or anything, so we don't have like an epic, war fighter bond or anything. But just like goobering around with them has led to such a profound impact of, connectivity with the world, the rest of the country, with each other. And, kind of having those friends, like a lot of times, kind of to your point, Paul, like a lot of times, like a lot of what's alleged as like high skill or high capability or some sort of sophisticated thing isn't really like that complicated or serious. And it's really just a product of, knowing somebody, and then you get in and you're doing something that you thought was complex, but is actually very simplistic. And sometimes that's because your, connection to it just like teaches you how to do it. There's something very powerful about somebody teaching you how to do something. So the networking and people, like you said, people say that in a gay way, or like have like gay networking events. Like it has to be genuine, like you said. It has to be you're networked and connected, and help each other
It
out
has to
because
be
you
organic.
are on the same
and to the
page. You are,
unserious.
Yeah,
yeah,
it has to be organic. Like, yeah, this is my buddy Frank from church. Let's come over and just drink some bourbon and just chill or whatever. And then you know people and they know people and you meet other people. It's yeah. I mean, a lot of this is just sort of analog. It's it's solved. Twitter's definitely interesting though, and maybe I think you are starting to see some of that. Never in history have we had something like Twitter, where it's like Twitter is a weird thing where it's a social media platform that tells you who your friends are. Like you go on Facebook
yeah.
and it's like, oh yeah, there's my Nana, there's my postman. You add friend, it downloads your contact list. But on Twitter, it's like, oh yeah, all these people have these same interests, and they're based or whatever else, and it's like you. but it is like a lot of people, if they ever met online, like the Twitter mutuals or whatever, they would probably get along great because they all have sort of that same mindset, those same interests, those same proclivities, whatever you want to call it. It's Twitter's definitely interesting. It's probably the best social media out there, and it's a force. And
Free
I'm
speech
definitely interested
works.
to see. Yeah, definitely interested to see where that goes.
Free
Yeah,
speech
it's funny.
works. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The Virgin complaining about like social media algorithms spying on you to learn your interests versus the Chad, letting them, see what you're interested in so that it'll bring you to more like based friends. To that, it's so funny. I have a couple friends like a couple of my buddies are on the same page as me, but like politics and that sort of stuff. So it was so funny. I went to the supermarket one day, like this was like a month or two ago, and I was like, huh, what's the thing about like milk again? Why is it like good now, raw milk or whatever? So I was like, I know. I'll ask my fascist nutrition friends, what the answer is to that. And then we're all laughing. And then my other buddy's on the phone, and I'm like, Wait, we got to learn, what was it about vaccines again? Hold on. Let me ask my fascist doctor friend on Twitter or something, So there's something to be said for how people love to act like being in some sort of diversity of thought and that sort of thing is some sort of epically epic value thing because it makes you learn something new, but sometimes it is to just, deepen your network that you already have and deepen your thoughts on what you do believe. So
Yeah,
yeah, and it's been
diversity.
so fun.
Saying like diversity is our strength. Like diversity can enhance your strengths sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not a replacement for your strengths.
So
Yeah.
I have no network. I'm just gonna say it like it is, and I used to value it a lot when I had the company when I was younger. And this is gonna sound horrible. So my new plan is to just do so fucking amazing and great that I can come back and help people later. But my old plan was actually try to use the network to communally, kind of more the democratic approach, to everybody work together and use their trades and skills and talents and their network to succeed by getting discounts through each other and stuff. It was actually a really elaborate plan. It was pretty cool. But regardless of that, I am now more selfish is where I'm going with this. I actually have cut more people off. I even cut family off now because I've realized a lot of, I don't want to fuck it up again and be an ass, but Marchese, his stuff,
Marchese.
a lot of his, Marchese. I'm sorry,
Marchese.
Marchese.
CH is in Italian. If you ever see something that looks Italian, a CH.
Oh, I'm Italian
makes
now. I
a
feel
K
worse.
sound.
Stop it. Now I feel bad. Okay, so Marchese. I'll remember it. Marchese. That's worse though. But yeah, I because of a lot of what you talk about, people are distractions, and even people who mean well by you are still distractions. Because even worse so, if you care about them and you empathize with their opinion, you will actually detract from your own point or your own eye on the prize. And I'm conflicted again because I know that you're supposed to use people to get ahead, but fucking people suck. I don't know a way around that. You guys are great. This is cool. What an inner battle today. This is amazing. Thank you.
Hey, I got to head out. It was a pleasure chatting with everyone. Thanks for bullshitting. It was a good time. I hope you all have a great rest of the day, great week.
You too, my friend. Good to hear from you. Yeah, that's the magic of, like he said, that's the magic of Twitter. It's kind of forced you to be with people. The algorithm and that sort of thing forces you to be with people or be exposed to people who you will get along with. So
it is kind of nice. I genuinely think it's probably the coolest part about it. The extremities too. Like I pointed this out like a couple days into tweeting, like actually committing to joining Twitter because of the free speech stuff when you bought it. And I said that because you can now see the extremes. You can't call me a racist. You can't call me a misogynist because you've now seen what that actually looks like because we have free speech. So it's kind of beautiful in a weird way because it brings the people who are actually based closer to the center, closer to each other. And then the people who are extreme were actually we're pointing them out everywhere. Everybody's getting pointed the fuck out. We got Diddy, every motherfucker getting pointed out for being a fraud. There's a couple frauds that still haven't been exposed yet because they're good at sales, but I'm sure their time will come.
Yeah, to shift the subject a little bit, that actually applies to the brotherhood that men have that women don't have because we are able to say bad things to each other like up front and not mean it, but women on the other hand, they say nice things to each other and backstab each other behind their backs, so that's why they don't grow in anything because they don't
True.
understand
How many
that.
men tell you they're gonna fight you? Like there is no, you can keep it on mute. I'm gonna stop quick. I'm sorry, but you're right. Like how many men aren't deceptive? Poison is a woman. Totally, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's the meme. Men say it's the meme where it's like the men are shitting on each other, and then when the guy walks away, the other friends are like, "Wow, he's so awesome, dude. We're so lucky to have him as a friend." And then the beneath that or juxtaposed to that is like the women. They're saying, "Oh, you're so pretty," and then when the one walks away, it's like, oh, "She's such a bitch," that sort of thing. So, yeah.
This could also in line be the reason why we have so much toxic positivity because it's a female thing.
Yeah.
They have to say that they're nice and everything so they can do the bad things behind the scenes. That's why they don't like masculinity because it goes against their whole nature.
Yeah, the fabric of their friendships, really isn't as foundational as that of the fabric, or yeah, not as foundational as that of the male friendships, because male friendships don't really. Yeah, I mean, like men just aren't as
Not
like
to jump
duplicitous
in,
with each other,
not to
and
jump in, but how
men
many men
become
do you
friends
know?
as a.
How many
Go
friends
ahead.
do you still talk to? Personally speaking, how many of you guys, you're all men here from what I understand, how many of your friends do you really still talk to? I just wanted to speak to a deeper problem. I think maybe that's the core problem of the United States or just the world, is not only do we not have nuclear families anymore, but even friendships are so dissolved.
But that's the difference though, because even if as we grow up as men, we still have a little bit of friendships that we keep to ourselves, like let's say two or three. Unlike women that they keep like 20 friends, they're not really friends with
Oh,
them
all right.
either.
Well, that was my point. I don't have any, so that's where I was speaking from. So that's fair. You have two or three. And my bad for projecting that you had none. I didn't mean it like that.
We're your friends. We're your friends now. XD.
That's hilarious. Yeah. When time comes that I need you, remember that.
Yeah, dude.
Because people are no that I thank you. That's amazing.
Go ahead, man. Unfolded.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, as things have progressed and technology has become the way it is, and just, society as a whole has eroded, right, from when we used to be so interconnected. Um, yeah, I think, friend connections have dwindled. Um, but I like, sorry, my screen went off. Like War Torn, I do have like two or three still since I was a child that pretty predominantly hang around me and whatnot. But I would say the issue is the making new friends, and knowing that they're not some scumbag and stands on their principles. Uh, that I think that's what's hard to find nowadays. Even amongst my close knit friends, I'll be honest, they're pretty much NPCs. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
They recite all the same things that the news media and all this stuff does. So although they're still my really close friends, I'm still not exactly part of that group, because a lot of times I don't agree with a lot of things with the black community and everything like that. So um and so with that being said, I I think that people have a hard time finding new connections that are actually meaningful and are going to go somewhere. And so I think that's what I'm struggling with, is actually making those new connections with my mentality and the way I, think, and my principles and whatnot, um, and meeting those type of people with that same type of retrospect or perspective on life. A lot of times you just get these spiritual weirdos that talk about you know just the everyday things that are going on TikTok, the TikTok brain, and all this other type of stuff. So um, I I would just say that there is an issue with finding those new connections, and then but it's just like where do you find people like
To
that?
add to what you're saying, I think I realized like I moved
Mhm.
a lot when I was a kid. So I didn't have any friends from childhood. And I think that's why I probably didn't get to keep friends. Because you're right, you don't make good connections as adults. And what that kind of just made me realize though is you make more business transactional relationships as adults. And as a kid, this is gonna sound great delusional, but you kind of have a wonder about you when you're a kid, where you're more naive and trustworthy, and you kind of look past some of those things that people would do that you would consider that hurt you. And as an adult, I feel like that's gone from the bitterness in some ways. It's just again another deeper, weirdly amazing thing that came out of this. This is cool. I'm actually really enjoying this. I wish I recorded all of this. This would be cool. It was a good video. It sucks that there's only like 5 or 6 of us here, if I'm being fucking honest. I wish there was so many people listening to this, because even though it is a useless conversation at the end of the day, mentality is what breeds action, right? So you need a better mentality if you're going to change the world.
Well,
like Manifolded said, all right, let me finish. Like Manifolded said, there's a lot of people that are NPCs in the world, but that's not always a bad thing. Most of my friends I've seen that are NPCs, but even as yourself, who isn't one, if you speak to them and they slowly start to incorporate parts of your own personality, and they start to become more like
100%.
you.
100%.
Yeah,
Is
they
it a
start
bad
to
thing
become more
though?
like you.
That's a good
Yeah,
thing
and
sometimes, right?
yeah. So like my brother,
If
he's
there's a
he's more
lot
of
of
an
sheep,
NPC.
if there's a lot of sheep, I want some good shepherds. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So like my brother, he's more of an NPC. He doesn't really think. He's more of a do type of guy. But because I'm close to him and because he sees that I act correctly, even without him understanding why, he sees me for advice and he has bettered his life because of it. So it's good that sometimes people are NPCs. It just makes it easier for them to change their lives.
I think something important there too is like I've made this mistake of listening to NPCs, and sometimes you need to not respect certain people's opinion. I think that's actually I'm taking something different from that, but yeah, you're actually 100% right. I like this NPC concept. That's not the first time I've heard it, but it is the first time I've liked it.
yeah, the because they're so programmable, enough exposure to them kind of rewrites their program, enough exposure to us and our ideas and all that. Like that is kind of unironically the idea of free speech and the exposure of ideas and the marketplace of ideas.
When you
Unironically,
did
like if
that in
you
the
are
video,
around some
I
people
laughed
and
so hard.
yeah, yeah, the, you you can rewire their brains, like, and not necessarily like intentionally, with your hands folded together, tricking them or anything, but if they are just exposed to you, like, even if you start talking about stuff like
Your success, your
Israel or whatever,
accolades.
like, yeah, yeah, if you talk about stuff like, the really touchy topics like Israel or something, like, you'd be surprised how many people will be like, "Wait, what?" Like, if you speak with it pretty firmly, and if you're, firm in what you think, and you kind of are like, "Yeah, take a look at this, think about that," people do start being like, "Wait, what?" A lot of the times the NPC, like, overreactivity is performative. So if it's like your friend that's an NPC and they're like with you, they hear you crack enough jokes about something enough, they're going to be curious about it, and then you're just going to expose them to a different programming, a different .py file.
That's actually a good
Yeah,
strategy.
that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. That could be the reason why the left are so like, let's say,
Programmable.
hell bent on trying to keep people stupid, keep people to be NPCs, because the more
Yeah.
people that are not NPCs, the more they can question them, the more things can shift in the favor of the right thing, right? So like they're doing wrong. So more people that are thinking about doing what's right would mean that they would be the ones in the guillotine now.
Yeah,
One of the
I was
best
gonna say.
heuristics. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say
No,
to
you go.
Wartor's um, point that um, fuck, I think I lost my train of thought right now. Sorry, I'm also doing this German course right now.
Sehr
Actually, just come
gut.
back to me.
Wunderschön.
Gut. Wie geht es dir?
Ja, sehr gut.
Oh shit. Okay.
I've been too long from my family. I'm gonna get off. I didn't know if we would like stay for a certain time, so I'm just gonna do my thing. You guys keep going, but I'm gonna miss this because this was actually so dope. And psychodynamics, can you just explain what that was? Because I'm gonna leave an e-girl cost. Before I leave, could you just explain that real quick? What, so I can at least think about it when I leave.
I just kind of place titles there just to, like, as a
You skank.
preemptive, like, if
You
we do kind
clickbaited.
of run out of steam.
Oh, okay.
No,
No, you
well,
fucked in.
I do I do come in with a plan for, like, some stuff to just prompt everybody to start talking in case, like, we kind of run out of steam or
Also,
something.
can you
So
explain
the
Reply
reply guy
Guy?
report,
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah. So reply guy report was just the kind of meme I was saying, because last week you guys might have seen like me circulating. There was that girl who was complaining about abortion or something. So my reply was like, yeah, that's crazy. Maybe just don't spend maybe chill on letting guys come in your pussy for like the 1 week a fucking month you could get pregnant. And she was like, so you just think that women can only get pregnant 1 week a month? I was like, yes, you fucking retard. And I like my reply in and of itself blew up. It got almost like 200,000 views and hoes mad. And it's funny because I gained a bunch of followers that were like married
She also
women
deleted her
and a bunch of
account.
married women.
You got mad people to delete their
Yeah.
accounts. Do you know how many women deleted their accounts because they claimed her side? Do you even understand how many people deleted their things?
So I'm the reply. So when I say reply guy, well, reply guy just means like most of your tweets, like a lot of your tweets are replies. But yeah, she deleted her account.
Marchese single-handedly knocked out the left because they were all women.
Yeah, I totally fucking eliminated I totally fucking wrecked all these e-girls, all these e-hoes. And I made a bunch of like married women friends out of that, which is so funny. A lot of
e-girl, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of married women chimed in and helped me out. So when I say a reply guy report, that's like a funny analog to like after action report. I was joking. I invited her. She didn't come on. But one of them she was chiming in there. So I was saying she was my lieutenant. We were totally like waging war on these retarded hoes. And then that ties into e-girl accost, because I was saying that. And then you guys have seen like the Beardson stuff circulating. The Beardson, shitting on these girls.
Yeah, he's cool. I thought he was funny.
Yeah, he's pretty
circulating.
funny.
Yeah. By the way, that account, Allie Clufflow, at Clufflow, the blonde girl, before I forget it, with the reply guy report, she screenshotted that interaction. And that was the day that I got like locked out of my account because they thought I was, I guess I don't even want to risk saying like one of these like bleeped out words. But, I said that to my friend,
Can you give us
Twisted
concept?
Yeti.
Give us what it would be.
I was quoting what people say to us, and because I'm sure you guys have gotten like DMs to redacted yourself, to yourself. So I was quoting that and I got in trouble. But what sucked is that Cluffalo account, that blonde girl, she's a big account. She has like 20,000 followers. And that tweet where she screenshotted it had 600,000 impressions. So I was like, fuck, I got to capitalize on this. So I actually asked Paul Dozer to at me in the replies, because my name is right there on the screenshot. I could actually send it to you guys. I could go back and find it. So I was like, dude, I'm fucking reply guy champion this week. I'm like wrecking all these hoes. And wrecking the hose was in line with the e-girl accost, but the e-girl accost was also Beardson, just totally wrecking all these stupid fucking freak dysgenic girls. And then psychodynamics, I put that there because that's we talked about that, a lot of psychodynamics last time. And then, a lot of my tweets are about that. You saw in my video, the stuff about like the underlying communications of gym culture and the underlying messages and interpretations that people have.
The reason we do things, I guess. I could Google.
Yeah, reasons we do things. A simple psychodynamic is just like, people say, "Oh, I want to work out," but or an interesting, intricate one in my last two videos
I'm lazy
was
as
about.
fuck. Do you know what I love about everything you say? You always bring it back to being lazy, and I'm like, do people really have that hard of a time admitting to themselves that they're lazy? Because I always agree with you, but I know I'm lazy. Like, I don't ever deny it. That's what's so sad about it. Like, I don't understand how people can live in a world where they don't know that. Like, are you doing anything with your life? Then no, you're probably lazy.
Yeah, and what I get at is the underlying driving force behind that. We talked about this last time, the triune brain, the model for the brain. It's called the triune brain. And the most basic version of that is the lizard brain, which is essentially the oldest part of our brain, evolutionary speaking, meaning that if you were to go all the way back in the evolutionary chain, the farthest back creatures that we have a part of our brain in common with are lizards. Now, lizards are dumb. Lizards were like the first land creatures. Reptiles were the first land creatures. So their brain, and because they're less evolved than us, they're relatively unsophisticated. So what we have in common with them is like our brainstem, our amygdala, that general area, which is responsible for the most basic like .py files, eating, breathing, shitting, fucking, that sort of stuff. So, and in particular, the optimization of energy instinct. So we have this instinct to take in more energy than we put out, because thousands of years ago, we had to operate that way because we weren't sure when our next meal was. You could go 2 weeks without eating anything. So we evolved a pleasure reward system for eating and for not moving and not doing anything. But that doesn't apply in the modern day because this is post-industrialization. You don't even have to exert yourself to ascertain food or acquire food or resources or anything. You don't have to run
I
around for
get it.
3
It's
weeks
similar to
chasing
the house pet. It's similar to the house pet
yeah,
analogy, where a house pet gets fat
yeah,
nowadays because it doesn't work for its food. I actually love that. That's so beautiful. Yeah, I gotta go
yeah.
see the family,
So
but that was actually I gotta go. But thank you
yeah,
for everything and everyone
yeah, of
else.
course. So
That
that's
was
the
a great way.
explanation of the title here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate you doing that for me. And thank you for inviting me. This was the coolest shit I've done like in a while. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, of course,
Peace.
bro. And this space is recorded, so if there's a way for you to like translate
Upload
it
it.
over to your YouTube,
Oh, well, I
go
already know.
ahead.
I recorded the beginning of it anyways because I was gonna upload it anyways. I mean, I didn't ask for permission, but honestly, you guys said be a man. I don't care, right? Like I'll say it like it is. You guys were all great. If you had said something racist, maybe I'd cut it out. But like, it was a good conversation. If it wasn't a good conversation, I wouldn't upload it, right? But yeah, no, I was already planning to because I think it's you guys were cool as shit. I think these things need to be talked about. I do know that it is just bullshit conversation sometimes, but if we can get enough people to circulate bullshit conversations and we can somehow prove that the other bullshit conversations are actual bullshit, I think it'll help the world. And if I'm wrong, then fuck it.
Yeah.
Then say la vie. I'm copious as fuck. But I just think it's education. It's education. It's education. And honestly, that's why I don't even mind indoctrination because of what you guys have said. Some of these motherfuckers are NPCs. Some of these people need to be fucking told what to do. Trump got that right idea. He's doing what he needs to do. And you know what? Canada, mate, they're all going to comply. Watch. They'll all comply. Maybe not China, but everybody else will comply. But I gotta go, family. Thank you so much, Marchese. Appreciate it.
My friend. Good to see you.
You as well.
Perhaps that's a good cue for us to start wrapping up here. We've been here for quite a while, so if any of you, either of you guys, want to go, or if you had any more thoughts.
I was just gonna say.
I have one thought. I have one thought.
Go ahead.
Okay. A lot of these what do you call it? The Freemasons, they started out as making jokes like us, and making fun of the establishment, putting out papers, making fun of the government. So eventually we're gonna have to start making like plans to actually make changes because these this information has to make it to the general public.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Unfolded.
Oh, I was just gonna say what I was talking about earlier is that, I didn't even realize, me saying that, my friends are bots or NPCs, that they, I didn't even think about that they can be easily, or not easily, but they can be overridden with other information. And I didn't even think about that because he, eventually came back to me. He was like, "Oh, you're right." So I started adopting some of your ways to go about navigating women or walking through life, or how to, uh, posture myself when walking down the street, or whatever it may be. And so I thought that was pretty crazy that War Torn pretty much brought that up. And I guess I wasn't alone. And so it just clicks. It clicked, and so now I can't really unsee that.
Yeah, absolutely. Subhash Jawahar, sorry, you're just getting a chance to speak now. So but feel free,
Oh yeah, no worries. Okay, this is my first time speaking in a space, so I just want to make sure my headset is working. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, so I just caught pieces of the conversation. I was doing stuff with my family, but I was listening to parts of this, and I think you guys have touched on some really interesting things, especially in terms of male friendships and spaces to gather. Somebody just mentioned the Freemasons. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and something that I'm planning on executing on this year in my local community. Is I want to start this kind of underground club, like a men's club. Uh, Probably do like a little bit of a like a bourbon selection down there. Have some other like entertainment, but have operate off a membership model and going through some of the like-minded people that I know in my church community and other people I know in real life, and using that organic network of friends. But it's going to be exclusively a male space. I think that allowing women into these spaces, even though we love women, it changes the way men interact with each other, and it
Mhm.
leads to self censorship in a lot of times. And I think that um, creating physical spaces in real life, while X is awesome, I think that's the next step in terms of really activating people and just executing on some of these ideas.
I 100% agree with that. This is what I was actually talking about prior is that, as an adult, you can't really have a space where you can go where, you can find like-minded individuals or such and so forth. So a space where it's just all men, I can see that being likely a spot where you can garner some of this potential.
Yeah, I want to add something again. Sorry. So you guys know it's only four of us right now, but I want to share something that I've known for a long time. But in a way, a lot of you are going to get this light bulb moment where things actually connect. Like, let's say, past ideas and things start to make sense. That's because information itself is like alive. It's and the information that you have becomes complete when the information of another person connects with your own information. So you wonder to yourself how communism and all these things keep going, even though those people have been dead for a long time. It's because those thoughts connect with the wants of the people, even if it's a bad reason to continue, or like communism obviously bad, but since the people want free things, or they don't want to have any agency in their lives, they seek the simplest things. So they seek the ideology that is the best for them, but those ideologies are extremely bad for them. And because they are working with the lizard brain, like Marquis said, that's the ones that they choose. So us, being people that we know better, we have to shepherd them into a better way through the information that we know. So that information that they have in themselves gets connected with the information that you have, and they become sentient in a way, and they stop becoming NPCs.
Yeah. So this is something that I've noticed. When you guys were talking about, most of the people are just like kind of normies, and I have I've introduced like snippets of pieces of information that will captivate someone's attention enough to where they're asking more questions. And I've seen even over the last like 2 or 3 years, just a lot of my normie friends uh, who still live very ordinary lives, like yeah, become aware of a lot more uh, because somebody had the boldness to say something controversial in their presence, and that led to them asking questions. And another thing is just sharing books and reading books. I think this is probably like a more recent problem is men don't read enough. Women do all the reading of books, and it's mostly garbage that they're reading. But uh, find good books and share them with your
Right.
friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's all I
Alrighty.
had. I know you guys are closing up this
Any
space.
final words?
Well, yeah, just thanks for putting the space on, and yeah,
Yeah.
if this happens again, I'd love to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think we follow each other now, so we'll see each other on the timeline, and that'll serve as a stark reminder to send the invites. So, alrighty, if nobody else says anything, I'm gonna call it here. So thanks for joining. This is kind of fun, huh? The Virgin listens to all these gay big accounts and their gay huge spaces versus the Chad just makes spaces of our own. So this was really cool. This was very fun, enlightening, and a good exchange of ideas.
I'm with you on
Yeah,
that one.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that I'm with you on that one. Um, and yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. Alrighty, cool. Well, good to see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll let you know when I put another one of these on.
Peace out, guys.
Cool. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.
Alrighty, see ya.